Here we go again with the Geeked Out podcast.
What's
We're
up,
on
y'all?
Episode 6. We're on episode 6.
You don't have to keep count, bro.
I'm gonna keep count because it's a landmark. It's a time to do. So we got Aiden here. We got David here. We got him here because we're talking about a special event that's coming up. Everybody should know it by now.
Introductions too for people that don't know who they are. So, David is the shipping manager at the Iron Loin, and Aiden is the premier breaker for the Iron Loin.
There you go.
They're also hardcore wrestling experts.
Just a little bit. Just
a
tad.
Yep. So
I wouldn't say just a tad.
yeah.
Your guys' knowledge of wrestling rivals my knowledge of comic books. So
if anything, so we got Wrestle Mania coming up. That's Saturday, April the 19th through 20th.
Las Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas.
Allegiant Stadium. It's going to be
and
insane.
these two guys are going to it. So they got that exclusive in on it. And so we're going to talk about it. So first of all, what are y'all going to be excited about to see at WrestleMania?
For me, it's just the being there aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because I did go to WrestleMania 25. So this is my second WrestleMania now, and it's just like being there, the whole atmosphere of it, you know, and then of course meeting the people because we bought tickets to like a photo op autograph session.
You sold your soul for that.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of money. But luckily you can put stuff on Afterpay today. So, but yeah, we're going to be meeting a lot of people there over the weekend. We've got a lot of tickets for that stuff. So that's pretty much what I'm excited for.
I mean, similarly, I think for me, it's going to be like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, similar to going to the Super Bowl, World Series. Like, it's something you can say, I went to WrestleMania. But also, I think for me, I've been to a couple live events, and I've got like a bucket list of modern wrestlers I'd love to see. And all the ones I'm missing on my bucket list are going to be at WrestleMania. So Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, John Cena, again, even though I've seen him before, that's one of my all-time favorites. So really just getting to see those guys have some action in the ring is going to be really cool.
Hold up. How did you see John Cena?
He was at the Denver show 2 years ago with The Rock.
Are you sure it was John Cena?
Yeah, because
can't see him.
You can't see that, guys. So.
Man, I want
I slipped through that one.
I want that John Cena clear wrestling figure that they're.
It looks so cool. The Elite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have it playable in the game right now too. The new WWE 2K25, you can play as Invisible John Cena.
But
That's
you know,
wild.
Funko released that version of the pop like years ago. What took them this long to make that?
And
figure?
the interesting thing is, this is actually the second version of the figure. They came out with the basic figure of clear John Cena, I believe, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and now they're doing a premium version, but it actually looks worse than the basic in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
The basic had more detail on the clothing.
But also another interesting thing is like John Cena went bad.
Yeah.
He's a heel.
Yeah,
So
I
now
saw
he's a
that
bad guy.
Yeah,
So-
where I made my dad joke about I've heard, but I've never seen them.
Yeah, he said you guys have been making a joke about me for 13 years and it's not funny.
I don't know. I always find it funny because I think I had told you last time we were in the McDonald's drive-thru and I went with my daughter Day Day. And then she was like, I guess they had a poster. There was like some kind of promotion with John Cena. And she was like, oh, look, it's John Cena. I'm like, where? And literally, I did not see the poster at first. And she was like, right there. And then I saw him. And then I was like, where? And then she was like, oh, dad joke.
But it's crazy because when I went to WrestleMania 25 in Houston, it was just one day.
Yeah.
And then you'd get out there, you know, we pretty much got out there like Friday night. We wanted to stay there Saturday because they did have like a fan thing on Saturday.
It used to be called Access.
Yeah, it was like fan access. But you only got to meet like 4 people. And it was like the lowest rung superstars that they could get out there. You know, it wasn't going to be anybody that was like super famous at the time. So, I mean, it was still fun, but the event was awesome. And what's crazy is I don't think a lot of people realize this. When you go to like an actual event like that, it's actually pretty small.
Yeah.
But on the camera, they make it look like it's huge, right? So when I was out at the stadium watching WrestleMania 25, I was basically like 8 or 9 rows behind Mickey Rourke that night. Because that was like the angle with Chris Jericho.
The fighter.
Yeah, the fighter was going on at the time. So it seems on TV like you'll see Mickey Rourke and then you see all these people behind him and it looks like so distant. And he was like just right there. Like I could see him like 8 rows in front of me.
It was the wrestler. The fighter's the one with Christian
Bale. It was the wrestler.
Yeah.
But they were doing some angle with Chris Jericho at the time where he was going to confront him. And he was at ringside. So yeah, we weren't that far away from him. We were like catty corner to ringside. So
That's still cool though, just to go to that kind of stuff. Because I didn't think about it in the context that you had said. I caught it. I was like, WrestleMania is the pinnacle event for wrestling every year. It is the Super Bowl. It is the World Series. It's the NBA Finals. Like,
And now that you have like basically Triple H running the thing, because Vince McMahon doesn't run it anymore, it's like
yeah,
we
we
wonder why.
won't get into that topic.
we won't get into that conversation. But now that Triple H is running it, it's like he kind of wants to make them like 2-day events. He's making them like a destination to go to.
Yeah.
You know, now they do this like, what is it called? WWE World.
WWE World, it's a week-long convention.
Yeah, so we're actually going out there, like, what is it?
We leave Wednesday night, we get into Vegas Thursday morning, and the convention we're going to is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
You know what? Business-wise, though, that makes a lot more sense.
Oh, yeah.
But even from the fan perspective, it makes a lot more sense because why do you want to go out for a one-day event, do all of that quick traveling,
And spend all that money.
and try to compact everything into one day where you get completely exhausted?
And the cool thing, I've talked to some people in my breaks who are also attending the event, not WrestleMania necessarily, but there's a lot of people who are going out there just to go to WWE World, because if they can't get tickets to WrestleMania, they can at least go there and experience the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something Triple H is really trying to do, is make it like a week-long series of events that accumulates with WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Plus, they've also got the DJ thing at night
And
for
WrestleMania
WrestleMania After
After
Dark.
Vegas is the perfect place for
Oh,
that
yeah.
too
Oh,
because
yeah.
you can go and do all the fan nerd stuff during the day. They got the events at night. If you don't feel like doing that, you're like, nah, you know what? Let me go hit some
Well,
slots.
there's a ton of pre-built venues for it.
Yeah,
like
right.
even Philly last year, WrestleMania 40 was huge, but they didn't have events like this because you have to like space it out. In Vegas, you could go down the strip. Every hotel has events that they can use for that stuff.
Yeah.
That also makes me excited because we're probably just going to run into wrestlers out there. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
easy.
'cause
From just walking around.
There's
I'm sure you hope you run into some of the ladies.
Yeah.
There's an outside promotion doing WrestleCon in Vegas too that's not related to WWE, but they're bringing in all these independent wrestlers, vintage WWE wrestlers, AEW
Oh.
wrestlers.
Yeah.
So like Ric Flair and Dennis Rodman are going to be at WrestleCon as guests. Like Mick Foley, tons of random people. So it's really just anyone who's anyone in wrestling is going to be down in Vegas that week.
You know, I'm really surprised Pete hasn't talked about it. I'm assuming he's not going, but you know, Pete is like massively into
He is
to wrestling.
massively into wrestling. There's some things that he's told me before
that
I didn't like know. And I was like, dude, I've been watching wrestling since I was like 5.
Well, you know, Pete is like hardcore into like the old 80s wrestling and all of the different wrestling franchises from them, not just the
See,
WWF.
here's what's crazy. This is what I think is the cool thing between me and Aiden.
Yeah,
Aiden's the young guy,
that's old
but
school.
he likes the old school stuff. I'm an older guy, and I like the new school, kind of like I like the new wrestlers. I'm not saying I don't appreciate where it all came from, because I do. I liked Hulk Hogan growing up and all that.
Yeah.
But I think I like the way it's gone.
There's a lot more excitement.
Yeah, because when they hit the Attitude Era, which was like the late 90s, and Stone Cold was in there and The Rock was in there, that's the stuff. I mean, that's probably my favorite era, per se. So maybe kind of older wrestlers, but not like the Hall of Famers yet.
70s or 80s.
Yeah, I like more of like probably like the late 90s, early 2000s thing. Just because that was when they let them do what they wanted to do. Like they could, it was their personalities turned up to 10.
Yeah.
So Stone Cold, Steve Austin was basically always like that. But then they just let him have free reign on what he wanted to do.
You know what I've noticed one thing too? It was watching that WrestleMania that I told you that pissed me off because of Mr. Perfect going in and out. And then the last event that I had seen was when I found out that they had it on Peacock.
Yeah.
And it was when Cody Rhodes fought, what's his face? I think he was like the German dude or whatever.
Oh, Gunther?
Yes.
Oh, when they did the crown jewel thing?
Yeah. And,
Champion versus champion.
and I'm watching it and I'm like, man, this is so much more exciting than the old wrestling I grew up on. But the thing is, I'm so much more familiar with the older wrestling. And when I watched the WrestleMania, not the WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble with Mr. Perfect in it, and I compared it to it, I was like, the modern wrestling flows so much more naturally than the old school stuff. Was kind of corny.
Well, yeah, it was a different era,
Yeah.
too.
I think part of it too is that, like, I've heard a lot of old wrestlers complain about this, but like vintage WWF and WWE, especially in the 70s and 80s, was more about the theatrics than it
Yes.
was the actual wrestling. Where now it's flipped, is like a lot of the old guys don't like that. Now they don't focus as much on storylines and gimmicks as much as they do the technical, athletic wrestling aspect of it. So you're seeing high-flying stunts that you wouldn't have seen 20, 30 years ago.
Because I stopped watching wrestling in the early 90s because it was just like, and then everybody's like, you don't watch wrestling anymore? I'm like, no. And then they're like, oh man, you got to see these dudes. And they're talking about like Stone Cold Steve Austin and then like The Rock and stuff and I wasn't watching that. And then even my concrete foreman, Rudy, he was like, you don't watch for Rey Mysterio, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, he was like, he's the son of one of the best Mexican wrestlers and all of that stuff. And I was like, and I started watching some of them and I was like, man, these dudes, like, I'm like, how often are they getting injured? Because I'm seeing the stunts that they're doing and it's like.
Well, that's the crazy thing about Rey Mysterio. He's in his 50s and still wrestling like he was back in the 90s.
Because he's a Mexican, not a Mexican.
He's one of the wrestlers we're meeting as well. We're getting
we're
Rey
meeting
Mysterio
Rey Mysterio.
because that's one of my personal favorites. I'm really excited about
The
that.
wrestling pops are expensive too.
Yeah. Well, I remember when they first came out with WWE stuff for pops. I was like, man, there's just like they're never going to be worth anything. And then they started like retiring.
7-Eleven had a Rey Mysterio exclusive, and that thing goes for well over $100.
I think it's because like for a long period of time, especially before the Triple H era, wrestling had fallen off because it was the PG era, they call it, where it was geared only towards children. And so a lot of diehard wrestling fans fell off because they're like, this no longer interests me. And so the collectibles were just sitting on shelves. And now it's way blown back up to the Attitude Era or even more so. And now people are like, oh, I wish I would have bought that then. Let me find it now.
It was
I
fun.
even regret some of that.
Well, it was fun being a wrestling fan for our generation growing up. We had cool stuff, but when you compare that stuff, it's nice to look at, but from a child's perspective, like the stuff that everything's coming out now is not only like blows the kids away with their articulation because they got the ab crunch and all that stuff, but for the adult collector, because it's so detailed, they're coming with like these really detailed belts. I remember those old Remco wrestling figures.
I also had the LJNs when I was
that looked like He-Man. Well, and then the LJN ones. Remember the big
Yeah.
rubber
Big
ones?
figs.
They were all
those things are worth
Big
money
rubber
now.
guys,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. We used to tear those things.
Yeah.
That's why they're worth
Ring,
so much
everything.
money.
I would be throwing those off at the top of the house.
You could throw that thing on the floor and it would just hit, and then it would start doing its somersaults and stuff like that. And then they had the ring for it, but I think one of my favorite.
And even the ring was like was like huge.
Well, and then the big wrestling figure rubber ones were cool too, but the smaller LJ ones, those ones were dope because I remember like Ultimate Warrior had like the thing where you could put the figure on and then.
Yeah, they do like a flip or
you
something
could
like
push
that.
the button on the back and they would spring forward.
Yep.
That's the crazy thing too is vintage wrestling memorabilia market is skyrocketing right now. I went into a vintage toy store in Denver a couple weeks ago and found these like vintage, they're like 32-ounce drinking glasses, and I bought them. They're like $30 each. It's not terrible, but the guy said he's only seen them one other time in his 13 years of opening his store, and he's like, now people are like asking for it, so I have to go seek out that wrestling stuff.
Yeah, and that old stuff is like, I don't know, and then you got to tell yourself, pick it up now. Because you might not ever find it again, especially if it's an affordable price.
Yeah,
I think one of the big things that actually happened though was that transition.
Yeah.
When you had Vince McMahon that like pretty much got removed, and then Triple H and his daughter took over, Stephanie McMahon. I mean, it caused like a new, like resurgence, basically. You would say of like it being popular. Like people are like, because Triple H knows how to like do long-term storytelling. He knows how to like do surprises, make it look exciting. And Vince McMahon was more of like, the old school. Yeah, you got to have gimmicky wrestlers that.
I was gonna say he's
some
still
guy's a
set
trash
in his,
dumpster guy.
He's still set in his way. I know all of the stuff that you told me that had gone down and why he's not there per se, but when you started telling me some of the storylines that he came up with, it made me cringe. Like literally made me.
Well,
cringe.
the documentary they even talked about it.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think is not only did it cause a resurgence for fans, but it also caused a resurgence for a lot of the wrestlers who had left the company because they didn't respect how he ran it. I mean, CM Punk's one of the hottest guys in the business right now, left wrestling for almost 10 years because of Vince McMahon. Yeah. The Rock has never publicly said it, but you're seeing The Rock back for the first time in almost 10 years, just a couple of years ago with Vince McMahon leaving. Like, all these big guys that had left the business or taken kind of a side stance are coming back and excited. I mean, we'll probably see Stone Cold at WrestleMania this year.
Yep.
Like...
Well, they decided to do a new thing, right? They're doing doing matches for the Hall of Fame.
For the Hall of Fame this year for the first time.
And that's Bret Hart and Stone Cold's match.
Huh.
So there might be Bret Hart and Stone Cold at like WrestleMania this year. So
and Triple H is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Triple H is getting inducted, so it's going to be pretty exciting. What is crazy to me is last year was 40, right? WrestleMania 40. Big deal. They bring The Rock back. They did that whole thing at the end. But 41 seems like they've made it like even bigger than last year. Like every year it just seems like they're progressing to like even a bigger and bigger thing.
I'm sure part of it is like the venue we were talking about
earlier.
That's what I was going to bring up, the venue.
There's a lot
it is
more
like
opportunities.
crazy in Vegas.
Because like we were looking, it's at Allegiant Stadium, which is like this massive football arena.
And it's a newer football stadium too.
Yeah. But the WWE World, which is the other event they're doing, 10 minutes down the road on the complete other side of the strip. So they're basically using the entire strip for different events for WrestleMania. It's got to be costing them so much, but they're going to make it back in.
But I mean, do you really need to like increase the money in Vegas?
No.
But the people are there because I started thinking you're talking about the venue, and I'm like, man, I'm thinking of what would be some good cities like New York City would be a great city to have it in, where they're gonna do an extended several days of events.
Right. Next year it's back in New Orleans.
Yeah,
that's another good city to have it in. I was thinking about like Miami, like you're on the
Miami.
beach, like that would be hot.
Another rumor I heard they're looking into, since their international crowd is building, is they're going to do it in London within the next 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And do like a UK. I mean, that's not set in stone, but I could see that as well.
Oh, but dude, think of the marketing for that. That's like a gold mine.
Yeah.
In London.
I am interested to see, though, because they've released the like preliminary numbers, and it's gearing up to be one of the lowest attended WrestleManias in history so far.
Huh.
And I think it is just because there's so much going on, people are like almost overstimulated or oversaturated. Like, okay, well now I have to be more precise about what I use my funds on. Whereas if it's just the event, like one other thing, I can swing that.
See, that might be the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
There's so much to do in Vegas. It's like people aren't even going out there for WrestleMania.
It's too much to do in Vegas that you gotta.
Yeah, like you said,
split up your
people
time.
are probably just going out there for WWE World to meet the people.
Right.
And then why go to the stadium
when you can watch it in your hotel on TV?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see
that. That's true. I mean, that is a good point.
International markets are always big though too. Like you were saying, London. I already thought about two cities that it would probably do really well in. Tokyo, because the Japanese like all of that stuff.
Wrestling.
Mexico City.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would be huge too.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that'll be like a cultural shock on that if you went to Mexico City.
That would be
Well, I had researched some of that stuff before too. I didn't know that Mexican wrestling where American wrestling got its flair from.
That's what, that everything,
Because I was looking at it and I was like, wait, because
why do you think they always do the lucha libre thing? That's never going to go away.
But I didn't know how old lucha libre style wrestling was, and when I was looking it up online, I was like, crap! I was like, this stuff's like 100 years old. Like
when most guys go to train, or like they leave WWE because they get fired. Yeah, they go to Japan or Mexico to train. Like that's what Cody Rhodes did. Cody Rhodes spent years in New Japan wrestling, just because the market's hot out there. Even Hulk Hogan did it. He was Ichiban #1.
They've all done it now. They've all gone to New Japan now. It's crazy. And I never thought that Hulk Hogan would do something like that, but he did. Yeah, he's gone out there too.
Hey, man,
it's where the money is.
A lot of people don't realize that foreign markets sometimes generate more income for a certain type of thing than American markets do.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, they're more rabid than us. I mean, if you've seen these last couple shows, they're crazy in the audience. It's I wish our audiences
as
were
Americans,
like
I kind of feel we're spoiled with our entertainment.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you imagine though if like Rey Mysterio did his retirement match in Mexico City at WrestleMania? That would be insane. I don't think necessarily because they've got the next couple years already planned out. I don't think we'll see that because I do think Rey Mysterio's retirement from the ring is imminent. But
yeah, I'd say probably within the next couple years.
Like I think they'll probably focus on Cena and then probably move to Rey Mysterio.
They'd have to have it in that one Coliseum that they have in Mexico City because I know that's one of the biggest. Because they had what was it? I don't know if it was a Niners or a Cowboys game was at that stadium, and that thing was just like massive compared to stadiums that we have here.
I don't know if it's this way now because obviously it's been decades, but I've listened to a lot of the old wrestlers like Jake the Snake Roberts talks about it. Undertaker even talks about it. That's the reason they didn't do a lot of international markets for a long time is because a lot of those were less regulated and more dangerous. Like people would be throwing glasses, chase them out the ring, and like try to shoot them because they took it as like real. Like Rowdy Piper almost got in a fight one time because he came out to a predominantly Hispanic audience and was like, I'm going to play the Mexico national anthem to apologize for offending all of you, and then played La Cucaracha, and they chased him out of the ring and like...
you know what that almost sounds like? When you get into a scrap at a soccer match and you're football match, and you run into them soccer hooligans, like you don't want to get into it at a football match in the UK and I mean, them dudes destroy stadiums.
Yeah. So I think, like, for a long time, that might have been one of their concerns, too. Is just, how do we not show that on TV?
Well, you know, Mexico's an extremely volatile country, too, depending on where you go. You can be murdered by a cartel, or you can have the vacation of a lifetime.
That's right. But other than that, I mean, for WrestleMania, like, it's one of those things that it's gotten so huge, I feel. Like... I don't even want to go to a Super Bowl now. Like, I would just want to go to another WrestleMania. And I love the NFL. Yeah. But it's like...
I think you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Because you get to see like so many different people wrestle and so many amazing different storylines. There's like nothing wrong with football. I love football too, but you get one game, 2 hours, it's done.
It's I think WrestleMania is the equivalent of going to an all-star game for like baseball or football, like the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get to basically see everyone who's a who's who. And like I said, a lot of people come back just for WrestleMania. Last year we saw The Undertaker make a surprise appearance. Stone Cold's going to be in town getting inducted into the Hall of Fame with a match. He's going to be at WWE World for both days. So the chances that Stone Cold at least shows up at some point, we'll probably see.
And we got to have a surprise.
We'll probably see
like there's
Triple
got to
H.
be a surprise or something.
The Rock will probably show up. Like there's just so many massive names.
Do you know what the surprise is going to be? It's going to be a concert with Tupac's hologram featuring Andre the Giant's hologram.
There you go.
Vince McMahon comes out and is like, "I'm back."
Oh God,
No.
Then all of a sudden you just see everybody like start walking out of the stadium.
Yeah.
No, the first thing that popped into my mind was the commercial. It's back. He's back. He's back.
Yeah.
Because some things are
Worth
worth
the wait,
waiting.
you see. No, man. I think that dude's done. I mean, he cashed out his stocks and all that stuff. He made a ton of money.
He's trying to start a new wrestling promotion.
Well, that's a rumor.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
But he's
Just get out while you're
He's also
you're technically
in his late 70s. Like, just retire.
Yeah.
You've got enough money. It's not like you're hurting. Because I'm sure he still gets
I'll
some
tell
sort
you
of
right
back
now,
end
when
pay.
I hit retirement age, I ain't doing nothing after I'm retired. I've worked my whole life, so it's like once I get retired, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna chill, watching TV or playing stupid video games when I'm like 70.
I will be interested to see too with John Cena, and I'm sure he'll keep to his word. There's a lot of wrestlers who say, "Oh, this is my retirement tour," and then come back 15 times. Like Ric Flair is still wrestling even though he's retired.
Dude, he's
And
like 80, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to stay away though because the money's appealing.
Well, and Ric Flair, when you blow it like that, you have to come back and make more money because you spent it all on.
Or your
Women and
7
liquor.
wives. Doesn't he have like 6 or 7
He
wives
just
now?
got divorced again. Yeah.
That boy don't learn his lesson. He's 80.
I would be interested to see if he's a surprise too, because John Cena keeps calling him out in promos because he's about to break his record for the most world titles ever won at WrestleMania. So
Okay.
But it will be cool to see like the heel side of him, the bad side of him.
Yeah.
See if anything changes.
That still reminds me of that
Travis
episode
Scott.
of The Simpsons where Bart becomes like a hardcore heel. It's I can't remember Grandpa's name in it though.
Abe Simpson.
No.
Oh.
But his wrestling name, because Grandpa Simpson used to be a wrestler back in the day, and he played the heel.
Yeah.
And then he got Bart into it, but Bart took it seriously and started really being a jerk to everybody, like the people in the crowd. He took his schoolyard bully aspect into the wrestling thing. I can't remember. It was
Well, there's an episode with Bret the Hitman Hart, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Too?
yeah. Yep, I remember seeing that episode. They've had quite a few sports celebrities on there.
Yeah. A good amount.
But I think Grandpa's name was like Gorgeous Grandpa or Gorgeous Godfrey or something like that. It was funny because he had a wig and everything.
That makes sense because the wrestler that inspired Ric Flair was Gorgeous George, right?
Yeah.
Did that same kind of thing.
See, you know all that old school stuff.
He does know a lot of info.
Who is it that you're most excited for seeing when you go? Like,
CM
who is
Punk,
CM Punk's the
CM
must see
Punk.
for you?
by far.
Okay.
Randy Orton. Randy Orton's one of my favorite wrestlers, and not only does he have a match, but they just announced him for WWE World, so I'm really excited to see the Legend Killer in action.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted the audience to know what
they
they're.
were, and then we'll end up finding out if they actually did see him. And then wrap that up too. So
We're gonna see on the news, crazed Colorado man.
Meets Lola Vice.
Well, Lola Vice is somebody I want to meet out there, but CM Punk is a wrestler that I've never seen wrestle.
yeah.
He's pretty much one of my
I
favorite
forgot the
wrestlers
match
of all
he came out
time.
here to wrestle. You
Yeah,
didn't go.
and I didn't go when he was out here, so that's who I want to see wrestle. There's a lot of people I want to see personally that I like, but CM Punk's the number one for me.
I know last year you went to an event up in Denver, right? Or was it?
So that was I went to Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
It was a 2-day. I went to NXT No Mercy, which was their pay-per-view, and then Monday Night Raw the day after, which had CM Punk, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. It was a pretty
It was a
stacked
good
one.
show.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as the SmackDown I went to 2 years ago, where The Rock returned for the first time in 10
Yeah,
years.
and I didn't go to that one either.
Pat McAfee and then John Cena came out at the end, so you had Rock on one side, John Cena in the mid. Like, it was crazy.
do you know how many wrestling events that you've gone to? I mean, across the board from amateur to professional.
3.
3.
Oh God.
Well, technically 4 if you count that 2-day, because I went to for WrestleMania 39. They did an event in Denver. It was their last house show before WrestleMania. I got to see Cody Rhodes, which was really cool. And then I went to SmackDown the next year, and then No Mercy and Raw the year after.
So I've been to 5 Raws and 8 SmackDowns, and this is my second WrestleMania now. So
It's almost rivaling your
times I've seen
Korn,
in
your
concert.
Korn concerts.
14 times.
What if they announce Korn as a special concert into the ring?
I would love it.
No, it's that unknown, the mystery guest that Hispanic person or whatever.
Yeah.
El Grande Americano. Crazy thing too is that In Living Color is doing a free concert on Fremont Street for WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us on
Yeah.
the podcast, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We're gonna have you again when y'all return. We're gonna see all the excitement, all the big shows. I want to see pictures. I'm gonna throw up pictures. I'm gonna see whatever y'all got. We're gonna get
merchandise.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
whatever y'all got to bring it on.
Will do.